Hello and welcome to the October issue of The Chatter. This month's puzzle feature is a genre called Shakashaka. And this is one we haven't featured before. It is about drawing rectangles in a grid by using triangles. And those rectangles can be either oriented orthogonally along the grid lines, or they can be at 45-degree angles. So I have pulled up the example puzzle given on the PuzzLink help page for the rules examples, and I am going to walk through a solution for this example for you right now. So all the numbers in the grid tell us how many of the cells that are right next to that number, how many of those cells have triangles in them. Cells can either have a triangle in any of the four orientations, or they can have no triangles. So we're allowed to draw a triangle in any of those four orientations, or we can mark a cell as, nope, this one is blank. So there are a few things you should look for first when seeing one of these puzzles. Any cell that has a number that is equal to the number of available cells next to it gives you a lot of information. So this 2 is telling us that both of these have triangles, neither of them are empty. Next, let's look at what those triangles could look like. If we draw a triangle in the upper right-hand corner, we would end up with a 45-degree angle here that can't possibly be the corner of a rectangle. So we need to have only 90-degree angles in our puzzle when we're done. So we can't draw a triangle in this cell in any way that would have an edge lead or diagonally up to this corner. So it's got to go this other direction. And in order to not leave a little tiny triangle in there, I'm going to draw the triangle at the top left. So this is a little hard to use the right words to explain, so bear with me a little bit as I struggle through trying to explain this. This interface, in fact, won't allow you to draw an illegal triangle, so it kind of subtly helps you out that way as well. So we can deduce that since we know that this has a triangle in it because of the 2, this is the only possible orientation for a valid triangle. The same thing is true down here. And the interface grays out the 2 to tell us, hey, you've accounted for all of the cells. It's not actually telling you it's right. It's just telling you you've done everything that you've done enough individual things to make that clue happy, whether or not they're correct. Okay, so what does this line tell us now? When we have an edge like this running up against a wall, again, we have to have a 90-degree angle. Since this line can't continue, it's got to turn, and it's got to turn at a 90-degree angle. So that tells us we need to fill this cell in with a triangle to make a 90-degree turn. And once again, it's bouncing over here. We've got to make it turn again. And now, okay, could this turn again, making a square? A square is a rectangle, of course. But the problem is we have defined this side of a rectangle. This is a pattern you'll see a lot. So we've defined this side of the rectangle. We know it is 2 cells long. So this one must also, since it is opposite, must also be 2 cells long. Now, if it weren't for the edge of the grid here, we haven't determined that it's only 2. It could keep going, but we've run into the edge, so we can close that off, and we have our first rectangle. And I say first, but in fact, I neglected to note another one right up here. We have a solitary square, And could that have any triangles drawn in it? Well, no, because then we would be left with a white space triangle, which is not allowed. So that is never going to be filled in. This is never going to be filled in. That's not necessary for the solution. It's just a way to note that. And in fact, that can be helpful when you see a clue like this 3, whereas before we didn't know which of the 3 had triangles. Now we've ruled one out, so these other 2 have to have triangles. And repeating the logic from before, if you have one of these corners like this and you need to put a triangle in it, the only valid way to do that is going to be to put the triangle into that corner. Any other way, you're going to end up with a broken situation. So we can put triangles there. The 3 is done. Now we've got a 1, and we've already seen the triangle, so we can make that white space. And now this edge is dead ending, not at a wall, but at known white space. So it's got to bounce over to get a 90-degree angle. So we can fill that in right there. And then that's going to bounce back, and it's got to go for at least 2. Okay, now this rectangle could close off here, or it could keep going. We don't quite know yet. We're going to leave that alone for the moment. Let's look at this situation right here. This little cul-de-sac. Can a cul-de-sac have a triangle in it? Well, if we were to put one at the top, we would end up with a 45-degree angle here in either orientation. And if we put one at the bottom in either orientation, we end up with a 45-degree angle at the bottom. None of those are legal. So anytime you have this little cul-de-sac shape with known edges on 3 sides, it's going to have to be white space. It's going to have to be part of a rectangle. Okay, let's look at this 3 over here. We have 2 of the 90-degree corners that need triangles. We know what to do in those cases now. And once again, we make this bounce. Can it keep going? All right, here's a slightly new situation. We could look at it over here, but let's look at it over here. Can this keep going? If it did, we would form a 45-degree angle at the bottom. Not allowed. So this is going to have to bounce now. And can this have anything in it? Obviously not. It is a full and whole rectangle in its own right already. And so that's done. This rectangle can't go any further, so it's done. Now this, we've got our cul-de-sac, so that is going to get finished off that way. The 1 needs a triangle down here, and the only way this is going to form a rectangle is for it to bounce and to bounce and to close off, and that will complete our puzzle. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to play more, check out the newsletter where there are 4 more puzzles like this, or join our Discord where there are a ton more puzzles of lots of varieties for you to check out.